there, fellow wanderers of the field. Starless Plains here. Welcome back to another episode of The Letter. Now, I'm just going to give you a little bit of forewarning because of my voice right now and how it sounds right now. It may crack a little, or probably my voice will raise up a little bit, so just giving a little bit of forewarning. If my voice will sound a little bit squeaky, just I'm trying to make sure I don't strain my voice a little bit too much after a bunch of yelling, screaming, and, you know, a lot of raging and all. But anyways, we're going to continue on with Zach's perspective, and definitely looking forward to more of his view and all that, so let's continue on. We're back where we left off, so let's check out the relationships first. Alright. Oh, Isabella's up there right now. Ashton, a little bit up there. Anna, up there as well, of course. Marianne, Rebecca, and Luke, still a little bit neutral now, but alright. Let's see, journal? Oh, October 25th, let's see. A frightened Isabella Santos knocked at Zachary Steele's apartment in the middle of the night. Shaken, she refused to say what happened. Zachary let her stay regardless. Come morning, Zachary received a phone call from Ashton, who was looking for Isabella. Zachary informed him that she stayed over and of the circumstances. Before ending the call, Ashton offered to pick her up. Anything else? Isabella saw Zachary taking an unknown medicine and concerned asked what it is for. He admitted he suffered from a trauma ever since his parents were killed in a hate crime. Huh. So that's what it is. I really hate that. Isabella could only offer him a comforting hug. To lighten the mood, the two decided to cook breakfast afterwards. Ashton arrived to fetch Isabella hours later, but she didn't want to leave after all the food they prepared. In the end, Ashton acquiesced and stayed. The Wrights and Zach's upcoming gig were the few topics touched during their talk over breakfast. Alright, so now we're going to be talking about the Ermengarde mansion and all that. Alright. After Ashton's warning, they all hold a different meaning now. Alright, October 27th. Alright. Alright, so this is where I left up. The next 2 days rushed in a blur, altogether leaving a collective mess of work suddenly piling up and new unexpected acquaintances. More friends? Depends on how you look at it, really. Either way, I'm stuck developing these photos in 3 in the morning to reach a deadline set by an overeager art director. Don't get me wrong, Julius is good, has a vision, and knows what he wants, but damn, he can be too enthusiastic sometimes.
Doesn't matter when you couldn't sleep anyway.
Feel sorry for you, Zach. There's nothing new in it, of course. After years of working as a freelance photographer, it's simply something I have to grow used to. Get to know people, build a client base, to do good work and cash in some late hours if need be. Rinse and repeat. It certainly takes a while to get some footage on the field, but it's the kind of things that pays off in the long run as long as you keep at it. Given enough time, you might end up with big names on your client list. Names like the Wrights in particular. I never would pay much attention to them, but it's virtually impossible not to hear about them when a local news channel or paper has something to say on their name. A party here, an acquisition there. Sometimes it's a news business venture, other times it's the everyday gossip that typically follows popular people like them. Not in a million years did I ever imagine I would end up working for such a high-profile couple. Between that and the fuss that comes with, it leaves me no time to ponder over whatever happens to Isabella, or why Ashton is so adamant to keep away from the pair.
They do seem like the good folk, though, despite the whole fame thing.
Sure, there's a rumor running around years ago about him being involved in some business scandal. Business scandal? It's just like every gossip blown out of proportion by the media, nothing came of it, and eventually it simply died down. Wait, who was in a business scandal? Well, probably we'll learn more. Much is definitely left to be said for the husband, but I doubt a woman like Miss Wright would pick him if he doesn't have any good points at all. Oh, so he's talking about Luke Wright. Miss Wright, Hannah herself, though. She ain't particularly bad the way the press made her out to be. The tabloids had it all wrong, that's for sure. For some born with a silver spoon in her mouth, well, she ain't exactly what I was expecting. Among other things, the newfound friendship was what I least expect from her. But here we are. Although, with a life as public as the rights, no wonder it's the woman who often gets the crappy end of the stick. I can't help but feel sorry for her. She's real nice. She's a real nice person when given the chance. Heck, she might have ended up with friends with Rebecca and Isabella too, if they weren't living worlds apart. Probably. The beat quickly pulls me back before my thoughts travel any further. In one practiced motion, I carefully place the wet print and hold on a dying rack and amble over my makeshift dark room to get the last photos from the water bath. Inside the converted broom closet, the film processor lets out another soft clack before going on its standby mode. As its mouth, a lone photograph sits on the tray, barely visible with the lack of light. I see where this is going. It's the last one tonight for the set Miss Wright requested. I didn't usually make this a habit, giving away stuff that is. It's bad for the business, no matter how well intentioned or generous you are. This exception, however, she did treat me well and was a pleasant companion all throughout the shoot. Even if she didn't ask, I would have probably given her a few prints just for the hell of it. Miss Wright ain't such a bad subject matter to begin with. And maybe this is just me. Or for someone who has everything at the palm of her hands. All the money in the world, a loving husband, and a plenty big mansion to call home. She's lonely. She doesn't just appear like it. It shows in the tone of her voice, how she moves, and how certainly in her smiles. Always hidden behind the glamour for the world to never see. Sometimes for people like her, small things like things help. A little reminder that the world can be kind too. Water drips from the paper as I blindly pick it up and gently lay on another tray, holding a decent amount of photo flow. A few seconds under the solution is all it needs before it's ready for drying. No good rush in this last one, even if my body already screaming for some decent snooze. My hand fumbles for the light switch, moving towards it with familiarity, while I fish for a squeegee among the mess of tools in a drawer with the other. The bulb flickers twice before a glow settles, and casts a soft glow in the tiny space. When I glance back down, squeegee in hand, ready to finish the process of finally calling it a night.
What on earth?
The fuck? I had a funny feeling this would happen. Her head is gone. Blurred and distorted beyond recognition, rather. The area completely smudged over, leaving no trace of the same sweet smile the good woman carried in all the previous prints.
Damn, that was too careless.
Excuse me. A common mistake to make, of course, if one is negligent enough to pick a newly processed photo in the dark, like I apparently did. It has happened before. Loads of times, actually. But I still can't help but feel a small pang of frustration over one mistake a newbie would likely make. I don't think that would be a mistake. With a sigh, I reach out for the switch again, intending to develop a new one from scratch.
It could pass off for one of those supernatural pictures they show on TV, though.
A memory clicks, one cursory through the sea of many, and a short yet distinct second from the day before. A glimpse is all I got, but it's enough to burn the image in my mind. There was a shadow. No. A woman. In her 20s or early 30s, maybe. But with how far gone her flesh alone has become, it's not possible to tell at first glance. Her skin itself has already taken a sickly pale color, rotten in most parts, blood dripping from every open gash and lesion in her body. Bony hands gripping Mrs. Wright's neck like a noose, straining the skin underneath with a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but a malice fills the gleam in her eyes.
Zachary?
Not for me, but for Miss Wright.
Zach, is something the matter?
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong. I just remembered something I saw. Let's get back to the pictures. Can you move a bit more to the left, yeah?
The memory alone is enough to make me rich. I brushed it off then. A trick of the eye, I told myself, or a product of the heat. The weather has been unexpectedly warm recently, so it shouldn't be too surprising for such things to happen. And, while blaming this on the usual, fatigue, an overworked brain, the weather, or an amateur error on my part, it's far more convenient. It makes a whole lot of sense than what the small voice inside my head whispers. The same tiny voice that always makes itself known when something's afoul. The same one that lent a curious ear to Isabella's worries about the mansion. And with each second I spent staring at the photograph, the murmurs in my head only grow louder against my ears. Someone has to know. Show the photo to Hannah or show the photo to Ash? I don't think Ash would believe it, so I might as well show it to Hannah. I don't have an explanation for what I saw yesterday. Yet. When you've been there, seen something enough to raise the hairs in the back of your neck or leave you wanting to flee or hide. Finding a more solid proof than a person's smudged off face on a photo is the least of my concerns. Ashton will undoubtedly give me flack for saying that, or even consider Isabella's words and those silly tales about the place. The guy's a skeptic through and through. It'll make more than my account for him to even give this a single thought. However, more than his opinion, it's Miss Wright I'm concerned about. Surely she must have felt something if those shows on TV are to be believed. A touch of coldness on her neck, or maybe the feeling of being watched. That's what often happens, ain't it? Outside, the sun is yet to rise. I've still got a few hours before dawn. Good enough time to mull over how I'll go about warning her. Plenty of space to check if I'll get the same result if I redo the process again. The film processor hums back to life at my touch. The light switch gives off a soft click, and darkness embraces the small closet again.
Somehow those urban legends don't sound so silly now.
Doesn't. In hindsight, this is a dumb idea. That is to say, rush into a client I barely know's home first thing in the morning with the news of a ghost lady potentially haunting her newly bought property. Well, let's check the journal first. Excuse me. Some of Hannah's shots from the photo shoot the day before came out distorted after Zachary's development there. He would have almost dismissed it as human error if he hadn't remembered a chilling memory from yesterday's shoot. Yeah, that is chilling. Alright. Oh, and there's a bunch of bizarre-looking pictures of Miss Hannah I brought as proof, too. So yeah, dumbest idea in the history of my dumb ideas, all things considered. Traveling to the outskirts of Anslim village in the crack of dawn with only my bike as companion. Only bike as company equals so. Personally, I don't think any of them would take whatever I'm going to say, well, no matter how nice or accommodating they are. Ashton himself would tell me the same thing. Odds are, he'll laugh at it in my face for good measure, if he doesn't freak out at me first for not listening to his warnings. Still, that's a whole separate can of worms I'll open at a different time, seeing as I'm already standing at the Wright's front porch, waiting for someone to answer the door. More than anything, Miss Wright needs to know there's possibly nothing safe in this place. Warnings from friends be damned.
If only someone would answer the door sooner. Mom.
I try to ignore the looming presence their large ornate doors give off as I press the doorbell for the 4th time. Its shrill ringing merely echoes, carried off by another warm passing breeze. The first time I came to the place, I found myself basking in the silence it offers. Now the atmosphere is just heavy, packed with trepidation and tension. Isabella's right. It does radiate the creepy kind of vibe. And with the image of the day before constantly flashing in my mind, the unease becomes harder to ignore as each second drifts by. Not wanting to spend more time here than necessary, I rang the bell again. Another loud second ticks by without anyone answering the door. If this fails, I can always go to Ash. Not really the most sensible course of action either. But waiting here ain't doing me any good. For all I know, the Wrights could be out of town. As luck would have it, Just as I'm about to turn my heel, a loud thump rises from the other side. It's followed by heavy footsteps as a string of very colorful expletives about one's parentage.
Didn't we have that bloody annoying doorbell replaced yesterday? That Irish guy just cost me a fortune and she can't even fix this new thing. And where the hell is John? If another po-faced prat is pressing that blighted bell, I swear I'll cut there.
The door swings open as a very irate Mr. Wright greets me. His partially rumpled appearance a clear testament to how early the hour is.
And who might you be?
Oh, fuck you.
I don't recall asking the movers to show up this early.
I was prepared to face Miss Wright, their butler, more so. But Mr. Wright, I don't quite know what to make of him yet. I only caught sight of him yesterday as he's directing the movers. Although, from how exasperated he sounded then, it seems like more yelling has done than actual giving of directions. Needless to say, I like to believe these instances ain't all there is to the guy. Miss Wright, at the end of the day, did marry him. Standing before him like now, though, this is a different story altogether. Despite the differences in our respective heights, he managed to make it appear like he is the one looking down at me, not the other way around. An apology instinctively forms in my mouth before anything else when he arches an eyebrow at my lack of response.
Well, that's not exactly why I'm here.
Right, of course, the one and only. And what can I do for you this fine morning?
Fine? Really? Not with that expression.
Have I seen you somewhere before? Bloody you peasants all look the same to me.
Fuck you.
Yeah, I'm actually...
It doesn't matter. I don't care. I've got someplace important to be at today.
Oh, for your own self-benefit? Fuck you.
Just spit out what you want and be gone. I haven't got all day.
His eyes are sharp and expectant in spite of his indifferent tone. The very impression of someone whose sharp wits have served him well throughout life. The kind you have to carefully choose your words around. Disconcerting how a simple conversation can easily seem like a ruthless form of social maneuvering. I can see why Miss Wright will want to steer clear of it, if only for a short while. And sometimes the only way out of the game is to be honest. I'm the photographer of luxury living.
I'm in luxury living, sir.
He eyes the business card I hand him with a completely passive expression. He turns it between the fingers without really reading the letters printed, before handing it back in the same blasé manner he usually reserves for people below their station. Or a nuisance. With him, he sees more of the latter than the former.
Mr. Steele.
Just Zach would do, sir.
I can see why. You should hear what they say about my name. Although I'm of the opinion those don't sound as unpleasant as yours to the ear. Amusing what people can come up with in their leisure time, no? Well then, to what reason do we owe a second visit, Zach?
Right. Like I said earlier, I'm the photographer from Luxury Living. I'm here about the photo shoot yesterday and...
His eyes narrow at that, mouth tightening to a small frown, passive stance dissolving into a rigid one. It ain't a complete lie, what I came here for. But it ain't the whole truth either.
Didn't you already wrap that one up? I believe my wife was the one with you then. You even mentioned a little tete-a-tete with the photographer. That was you, wasn't it?
Yes. Actually, sir, there was something I forgot to discuss with...
And you had to show up at such an hour for something you forgot. Why wasn't there any notice about this little visit?
It was an error on my part, sir. I do apologize for not letting you know in advance.
Terribly unprofessional for someone going under the name of an esteemed publication like Luxury Living, if you ask me.
Fuck you.
Of course, even if there was a word of some sort, that butler does not check my emails as often as I would have liked. But straight up walking in here this early isn't the most sensible thing to do either.
The matter was a bit urgent, and my art director wanted it done as soon as possible before I hand him the finished prints.
Not my problem now, is it? A common courtesy would be to wait for replies before barging in. You do well to remember that.
Hell, you wouldn't even done that yourself. You would just ignore it and just be on your fucking merry way to your own self-pleasure.
I once fired someone before they could even submit an application. Sent an email in the morning and suddenly sauntered in the office looking knackered mere hours after. Bloody Watkins. That aside, unfortunately, you're going to have to come back some other day. You see, darling wife left not a moment ago. I have not an inkling where she went or when she'll be back, so you're better off.
Love is at the movers.
Ah, there she is. He stops speaking altogether, and the complacent expression he has collapses on itself. Slowly, he turns just as his wife walks up to him with a step too lively for comfort, a smile too sweet, to be honest. She's very likely heard everything her husband and I have talked about.
Going off somewhere.
I've got the few things I want them to transfer already. Marianne made this splendid arrangement for the music room and... Love, are you listening?
I thought you already left, Buttercup.
He mustard a frown, a pout more like. The mischievous gleam in her eyes when she glances at me, saying all there is I need to know. I would have laughed at her antics if it wouldn't offend the other man. But as it is, it's better to let his wife have her fun without any reaction from me. I'm treading on dangerous grounds with him already.
Well, I most certainly have not left yet. I wouldn't be standing here if I did, would I?
Of course you wouldn't be, darling. But don't you need to be somewhere else today? Something with Marianne? Shopping, girl, things?
Oh, I'll be leaving in a few. Unless you want to join us.
Like he would.
Oh, no, thanks, darling. I'm afraid my liver is killing me today.
I thought as much. You needn't have to worry. I'll be gone in a few. It's just that I heard we have a visitor. What kind of person would I be if I didn't greet him before leaving?
A very gracious one, I'm sure.
I sense sarcasm.
Zachary, right? Zach, it's a pleasure to see you again.
Likewise, ma'am. I was actually looking for you.
Is that so? What for?
A huge display of unprofessionalism is what it's for.
Shush, darling. Let the man speak. I'm sure it isn't anything like that if he has to come all the way here, yes?
It's about yesterday. The photos you asked, I mean. The copies are ready, but...
My hand still is as I'm about to fish the prints out of my pocket. A short second passes that which strikes me how I did not think this through at all. How I'll go about telling her regarding the strange photos, or revealing this to her in the presence of another person. Her husband gazing over this like a hawk doesn't provide any sort of comfort either. And just like that, all the words I have been practicing to say on the way were inevitably fall stiffly off my mouth. Miss Wright must have noticed my hesitance, because shortly she gives her husband's an arm a gentle squeeze, a tender smile gracing her face. Unlike the first, this one is meant to appease.
Love, I think Hansi might need some of your input for the final guest list. Could you check on him, please?
Bollocks! Why in all Luxborn do I have to be there? Doing tedious jobs are what he's being paid for.
Because if we end up with people whose faces you do not want to show up in our housewarming party, we won't be hearing the end of it. Unless a heavy dose of liquor's involved. You know what the doctor said about that. Please do poor Hansi and your liver a favor,
He can handle that on his own, Buttercup. And my liver is doing just fine.
Yeah. Just wait until you die.
I'm sure it is. But I don't know, love. I think I caught a glimpse of the name Mitch Lakes, was it? I think it was Mitch Lakes on it when I checked with Hansi earlier. You should see for yourself. It was quite a list.
Who put that blighted twat in there?
And that's why I'm asking you to look over it before I do so tonight.
Very well.
Good. But even with the promise, he doesn't appear ready to leave. Short of passing through their doors, he stops and glances back at me, all without bothering to hide the distrust in his eyes.
Luke, dear, I'll be fine. Go back to your butler. I'm not some pregnant wife you have to worry about.
Oh, bringing back to that one day during Hannah's perspective.
Fine. I have to go to that little ankle biter's career day later anyway. I don't see why I have to go there. Kylie's your goddaughter.
And yet, she has you around her little fingers, darling. That's basically the same thing.
If he ever has an answer to that, he don't get to hear it above the heavy thud the door makes. And Miss Wright own weary exhale. After she's sure her husband is out of the earshot. She's nothing but all apologetic, but she fixes her gaze back to me. I can't help but return the same to her.
I am so sorry you had to deal with that. My husband can be a bit trying when he really applied himself.
It's fine, Miss Wright. No harm done. It was my fault for showing up here unannounced. And this might be strange coming from me, but he does have the right to be wary. The press can be quite vicious when it wants to be.
Kinda unexpectedly, they'll pick you apart. It is not surprising why he acted the way he did around me.
Sweetie, if Luke treats every journalist who shows up here like that, I'm afraid we'll end up with a harassment lawsuit hanging over our heads sometime in the future. Vicious or not, some sort of finesse has to be exercised when dealing with them. I'm sorry, I hope that wasn't too offensive.
Not at all, Miss Wright. Besides, I don't think an interior design magazine would be interested in who harassed who this week. Unless it has something to do with fighting over tastefully arranged furniture. But even then, I don't think our readers will be too interested.
Oh, dearie. You've got a lot to learn. You really have no idea how a single tattle can ignite a spark in a crowd.
Yeah.
Of course, at the end of the day, it's still the thought that counts. It's still a lovely anniversary gift from my husband. No matter. Let's just go.
She doesn't wait for an answer and immediately wanders over a car parked some distance from us. Unsure, I find myself trailing after her. A chauffeur automatically opens the passenger side door as she nears, and she gestures for me to follow when she climbs onto the back seat.
To where are we going exactly?
I need to get out of this stuffy house for a while. Moving in, planning the party. It's starting to get suffocating in there. Luke and Hansi can have their fun while I'm gone. I don't care. I'm getting out because I can. Another minute in there and I'll drown.
My bike.
There are, of course, a lot of things questionable about her invitation. Why she asking a person she has known for less than 2 days in the first place is one. How appropriate this is, being another. But the rest of it crashes the moment she shoots me an imploring look.
Please? I can have someone send it back to your address later. And it's just a trip to the city for some furniture, nothing more, I assure you. Marianne will be with us, and maybe you can tell me why you're here on the way.
Guess it wouldn't hurt. I might have to leave early, though.
Excellent, then. Hop in. That's what they often say, yes?
This can't be a good idea. I really don't have any other choice, do I? Especially with the way her eyes lights up when I agree to it. In my pocket, the very picture of her remains faceless. The voiceless shadow hanging threateningly between us, unknown to her. If someone told me I'd be spending my entire morning being dragged around half of downtown Luxembourg looking for furniture, I probably would have simply smiled at them. That perhaps even given them a good friendly pat on the shoulder and wished them a nice day. Not that I find anything wrong with this is all. On the contrary, this is most definitely a nice change of pace after weeks of getting bogged down by several freelance gigs and shutting myself inside my apartment whenever I can. If only the weather would do me a lot nicer. The kind with less sun and more clouds, perhaps. With the mid-morning sun slowly beating down on us as high noon approaches, I can see why Mr. Wright skipped down on this trip. The bright side is, the whole thing seems to have put Miss Wright in a less somber mood. After the Fitz store, her pace is considerably livelier. Her gestures less guarded than the ones she displayed at the mansion earlier. The presence of another person might have helped as well. Although Miss McCullough seems less predisposed to small talk, preferred to keep herself most of the time and let Miss Wright lead us whenever. She did acknowledge me with a small nod when we introduced earlier. But that didn't make standing outside the store together any less awkward while we wait for our client to finish her inquiry inside.
So, interior design, huh?
She cast me a sidelong glance before returning to her notes again, her pen scratching faintly against the paper in quick, successive strokes. There goes that. I did say not any good at starting or keeping conversations going, didn't I? She doesn't look back up again. It takes that as my cue to stop any attempt to strike in a dialogue with her, and keep myself occupied with some other thing. Except what we have here is just Luxborn and its busy streets. People going about their day like normal. Cars moving in and out of sight, heading to who knows where. Nothing remarkable, really. The ease with which a person can fade into the background here is reflective of the kind of city Luxborn will always be. But the humdrum's one thing I learned to live with. Needless to say, it doesn't really stay that way. There are times when we would come alive, make itself known, and reassert itself back to the world. However, those moments are few and far in between. Then again, with the graces of the news channels lately, I'm starting to think it's going to happen sooner. Can't say I'm looking forward to what it'll bring.
Luxury living, is it?
Her voice effectively cuts through my thoughts just as I count the 13th passerby wearing a hat today. Besides me, I can hear the faint rustling of paper and the clicking of her pen as she stashes them back to her bag.
Excuse me, what?
Zine you're working for. It's luxury living, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. You've been featured by them before, I take it?
A few years back, yes. For just some issues. My designs still appear from time to time, though not as frequent as before. There's room for new talents, right?
It may not show in her face, but the pride is evident in her voice.
Good folks, the people running the publication. Tell me, is DK still on the editorial team?
I wouldn't know. I've only started taking jobs from them this year. Freelancer, you know.
Good man, that guy. Anyone in our field should meet him. He had a lot of things to say about art, all of them relevant. Learned a lot from him, actually, even if we both came from two different fields. I hope he's in a good place. I haven't talked to him in a while. Anyway, your portfolio must have been good if they gave you the job. They don't easily assign big features to freelancers like this.
I wouldn't say I am, but experienced, you know? The more you practice it, the more you learn the tricks of the trade. That kind of stuff.
I know what you mean. Still, you've got to keep up with the competition. Each year, a new talent emerges, and, well, you never know. Clients can be a bit fickle-minded with their choices. Believe me. Speaking of, do you think you'd be up for a new client after this?
Think so? Depends on how big the project is.
She reaches into her bag again. This time, to pull out a business card, which she hands over to me.
When you're free, send your portfolio to Chris. He's my assistant. He's been looking for a decent photographer to help with updating the studio's portfolio. Nothing urgent, but the sooner the better.
She's looking for any partnership or something? Something,
Not
I don't
sure
know.
if I'll have the time to squeeze this in. But, alright, I'll give it a go once.
Marianne, could you look this over for me?
At the very moment, Miss Wright emerges from the store. When I look back at Miss Bacala, a mask of professionalism has returned to her. Or at least that is what it is trying to be. There's a different light in her eyes as she faces her, a flicker of familiarity and recognition. I'd say it's fondness, but that would be too presumptuous. Whatever it is doesn't last, and it's briskly swept under the firm tone of her voice assumes.
Definitely. Is there a problem?
They said they don't have the colors you suggested. Do you think we can change it around for a bit? It might take a while if we insist what we want, and you know I'd rather not worry about this later.
I think it'd be better if I handle this one myself. Excuse me.
She walks into the shop without another word, leaving the two of us standing outside. As soon as she's out of earshot, however, Miss Wright let out a giggle and swipes the business card cleanly off my hand. She smiles, a bemused little thing spreading across her face, and waves the card in front of me. I wish she'll do that more often. Smiling thing. It suits her more than the other one she frequently shows to the media.
I look away, and the next thing I know, you're picking up women. On the streets, while the sun is high, no less. I'm not sure if I should be appalled or amazed. Whatever happened to the Zach I met a day ago? About as tall as you. Photographer? Quite the gentleman. To tell you the truth, I'm a bit disappointed he's gone.
It ain't like that, Miss Wright.
Oh, come on, Zachary's not like that. She just gave him a business card.
And I'm sure Miss McCullough is not the kind of woman to let herself be picked up by strangers, let alone people she barely knows.
Oh, shush. Let me have my fun.
Oh, so she's just teasing. Oh my god.
And didn't I say you can call me Hannah?
She gives the card back to me. Nevertheless, with it, her mood fades into a more pensive one. An odd look settles on her face, yearning, a bit wistful, as she looks back towards the shop's display window. There's nothing remotely interesting in for me when I follow her line of sight, though. A few trinkets here and there, a fur rug, a sofa, a wooden side table, and a lamp, all tastefully picked and arranged to reassemble a typical antique living room. On second thought, it does look comfortable. But why they added a crib beside it baffles me. Unless, of course, the people they're hoping to market are those who already have children, or about to have one, then maybe it is fitting. Particularly choice of decorations inside, it does make for a nice icebreaker, if it's not on the same level of weird and completely out of the blue. It still leaks better than the awkward silence, which is definitely too out of character for personality like Miss Hannah's. How should I start the conversation? How should we start the conversation without her... I don't think the crib... Well, Hannah does love children, and she does want little ones. She does like the sound of... She does want the sound of a little pitter... As she said, little pitter-patter foots running across the floor and all that. But... do you think a crib would make a good gift? But I don't know if that would be very... I think that one looks cute. What should I do to make sure that Zachary and Hannah's relationship isn't too... what is it? Awkward and weird. Because I know Hannah loves children. But Luke, on the other hand, of course, you know about a few episodes ago. For me, a good gift. I think that one looks cute. Oh my god, this is a very tough decision I'm gonna make, so... Oh my god. Fuck, this is a tough decision. I know she likes children, but I don't know if I would choose the first one. I think that one looks cute, but I don't know.
I think that one looks cute.
Anna balks, to my surprise, shuffles 2 steps away from the window and glares at it with such vehemence, as if it did something remotely scandalous. A funny sight when taken out of context, and I would probably be laughing really if I understand what I warrant such reaction from her.
I wasn't looking at the crib.
I wasn't really talking about the crib, Hannah.
Very good then.
Uh-oh. Did it rose, or did it shrink on Hannah? I don't know. I'll probably know.
But it wasn't the crib, all right.
Alright, I get you. But that's not it. Honest. I was just saying the stuff that was on display there looks nice. Or at least as nice as it can be compared to the ones we visited earlier. But I'm sure your interior designer has something different in mind for your mansion, so don't mind me.
I was hoping that wouldn't be enough to cut the topic short. Instead, she sighs, leans on the wall clock closest to her, and runs her hands through her locks of her hair. I don't know if that actually raised the relationship or shrunk. There is a far-flung look in her eyes when she fixes on the concrete curb.
You need to stop looking at people like that, sweetie.
I'm afraid I don't quite catch your drift, ma'am.
I suppose you wouldn't be aware of it. Do you know you always carry this kind of phase? Like you're always staring at the world with this honest look. Like all there is to see is all the good in it.
Frankly, I don't see anything wrong if it's like that. I mean, there always has to be something in it. You know, a sprinkle of kindness here and there. Otherwise, we'd all be miserable.
True.
For you, maybe. Some people have to fight through it just to see that. And kindness isn't always a great thing to have around. Sometimes too much of it can hurt.
Makes you wonder where this is coming from. How bad things have already gone for her to have this view. I do understand their sentiments. Really, I do. Still, when's the last thing you can cling to when things have gone irreversibly bad? Sometimes. You simply don't get to make a choice.
Besides, the point is, it's impossible to lie when a person is looking at you like that. Or I could, but I'd feel like a horrible person afterwards. Did you hear that, Mr. Zack? You just made me feel like a horrible person.
Really?
I sort of wish I had one like it. Just so people would stop lying to my face.
Or you can start by being honest with yourself. It shouldn't be quite hard. Friends don't lie to each other, don't they?
I guess so.
So what was the lie?
She draws in a breath, lays a soothing hand on her stomach and...
That it was really the crib I was looking at earlier, silly.
Really?
You're right, Uncle Zack. It's cute, but the pattern's not to my taste. I'm pretty sure Marianne could do something about that, though. At the moment, what I should really be worried about is if I'm ever going to be a good mother to this child. Ned, I can't even tell the father he's going to be one in a few months' time. Probably doesn't even want anything to do with this whole pregnancy thing.
Wait. Is... Oh, okay. Is Hannah really pregnant or something? I don't know. I am completely fucking confused about this.
What am I going to do, Zack? Because right now, I'm absolutely at a loss.
Oh.
A beat.
Oh!
The realization strikes me like a ton of bricks suddenly bearing down on me. More than astonishment must have shown on my face because Hannah let out a chuckle, the slump on her shoulders disappearing altogether under her mirth.
Don't look so surprised, dearie. Tied the knot 7 years ago, remember? Don't you think it's bound to happen?
She brandishes her hand in front of me, the unassuming silver brand on her finger glinting against the late morning sunlight for a second. Her eyes lit lovingly, almost tenderly, despite the trace of sadness in her voice. For all I know, there's an entire story there. I'd ask, but that would be too inappropriate even for friends. It's not my place to meddle, to begin with.
Or at least that's what they've been saying early on. My whole social circle would be saying it's a long time coming.
But the kid is something you want, right? Because if it ain't, then that's a whole other problem.
Of course. I wouldn't deny I've been hoping to have him or her for a long time now. But then, now that we're here, all of a sudden, there are a whole lot of other things to be worried about. Business, a new home, public image, my own husband, and I don't know. I didn't really have anyone for a role model. I practically grew up with nursemaids pampering me every step of the way. What if it happens to this baby as well?
So Hannah is pregnant, I think. I don't know.
Oh, I can already see how this will end.
Huh. I guess it's not just my sister.
What?
You and my sister. I mean, you're both having jitters or something like that. That's what it's called, right? First baby jitters? Mind you, she was really convinced she'd do everything wrong then.
That was the same way with me when I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter. That was back in 2013. I mean, yeah, that's basically everything with all first-time mothers, and I was the same way. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna be a good mother or be able to keep her happy and keep her safe from all the dangers that has been happening nowadays. I mean, I'm just trying my best to actually make sure I maintain everything just to keep her happy. I mean, still trying to keep a full-time job. Still trying to make sure there's food in the house. Both me and my husband trying to make sure everything's been paid off, even though each and every single week our checks are always depleting just by something. Bills, food, stuff like for my daughter. I mean, yeah, life is hard when you're having a family and all that. When you're having 1, 2, or who knows how many children you have. It's just, yeah, every day is a struggle. And we all have to go through it every once in a while. It's all part of life. I love my daughter, though. I mean, yeah, sometimes there are times where I do get a little bit agitated at a bunch of things, but still. I wouldn't trade anything to get rid of her. I mean, she had changed me. My daughter has changed me. A lot.
He even called me in the middle of the night. Asked to switch places the day she found out she's carrying a new member of the family. Never mind how utterly impossible her request is.
I'm quite sure I haven't done anything of that sort yet.
Oh, you don't know that? My brother-in-law has been telling me things 5 weeks into my sister's pregnancy. Since she's one crazy pregnant lady. Man, good thing I found a place for myself years before that bundle of joy arrived, huh?
It can't be that awful.
Who knows? I think we'd better leave it for Mr. Right to decide, yeah?
I don't know about that, since assumingly that another woman is fathering his child. Probably.
Provided he comes around. He just sounds so repulsed every time the idea is brought up.
Then maybe you should say it to his face. No mincing of words or beating around the bushes.
And if he says no?
You haven't even told him yet. Besides, that's his kid. Don't people usually say fatherhood changes men? I wouldn't call myself a living testament, of course, but there ought to be something that will hit him in that idea alone.
I don't know about that.
A wrecking ball would be nice.
I left her escapes before I could stop it. And for a moment, I thought I have done something wrong when she didn't join in. He's still her husband, no matter what jest or complaints she hurls about him behind the media's eyes, or in the presence of people she trusts. And when she does, her chuckle, a small hesitant sound at first, I find the rest of my unease slipping away.
Well, whatever it is, my point is, you've got no idea what will happen. In the same way, you don't know if you'll be a good mom. Trust me, my sister's been there. It's perfectly normal. If, my opinion matters, though.
A long second of indecision goes by. I can feel her eyes, filled with nothing but curiosity, boring into me while she waits for the rest. It's just a simple sentiment, but one thing I think she needs to hear for all the doubts she unwittingly places on herself. I'm just not sure if it could come from me. I'll be damned.
I think you'll be a great mother, Hana.
She has to answer to that. I don't get her to hear it, nor does she gets to say it. As soon as it gets out of my mouth, the bell hanging over the antique store chimes in, and now comes Miss McCullough. For more than one reason, I have never been so relieved our talk got interrupted.
Everything's been taken care of for tomorrow, Mrs. Wright. We'll have everything you requested delivered early. I've left them instructions, but I may have to visit again right before your housewarming party to check for a few things. I hope that's acceptable to you.
More than Marianne. This is a little early to say, but you did marvelous work with the mansion. I can't wait to see all of it come together tomorrow.
I'm only doing my job, ma'am. Needless to say, it's always a pleasure to hear a client is satisfied with my work.
Nonsense! You have every reason to be proud. I know you've already established your name here, but I'll still make sure word gets out, of course. I think I've got a few friends who might be interested in decorating their homes. I'll see if I can introduce you to them tomorrow.
I really don't want to impose, Mrs. Wright. There's still a lot to be done, and I'd rather be keeping an eye on it myself.
You know well enough I'll still do it. You too, Monsieur le Photographe. you better be the one taking the pictures for the event tomorrow, or I'll be very upset.
I blink at her, confused. Last I checked, I have nothing scheduled on my plate tomorrow. A couple of fleeting thoughts did cross my mind, like working on personal projects. But with the expectant expression on Hannah's face alone, I've wondered before how they got Isabella to sell the mansion, with all the paperwork and the loops it has to go through. Well, now, the how is already standing in front of me. It's one giant ball of persuasion in human form. If I have any doubts how she got around life, all of them have been dispelled right this instance. Hannah hasn't said anything yet, but I already know what my answer will be.
What event?
Our housewarming party, dearie. I've already sent invites through your publisher. They should have informed you of it by now.
I may have probably missed it. I haven't gotten the chance to check my mailbox yet. Deadlines, real-life happenings, you know, they can be pretty hectic. I'll try later, but they might have already assigned it to a different photographer if they haven't received my reply yet.
That's not a problem. Nothing a little call from me can't fix. I'll have them know I'm specifically requesting for your presence. It shouldn't be too hard. Just promise me you'll show up. I expect to see you both there. No excuses.
Good company, good music, good food. Of course I'll be there.
Lovely. I hope we have that settled then. I'd love to stay and chat, but unfortunately I have an appointment scheduled with the doctors after this. You two will have to excuse me.
Are you feeling fine, ma'am?
It's nothing big.
There's a short while and her hand faintly touches her stomach when she says this. Her smile, as she does so, and turn her thing in itself. She might never let it cross her mind, but motherhood would suit her. The kid is already loved when he or she has yet to have a sense of the world. Candid moments like this. Wish I had brought a camera for.
Sorry we had to cut this short. I'd love to have lunch with you two, but, well, you two know how it goes.
It's quite fine, Mrs. Wright. I need to get going as well.
Is it somewhere far from here? I can have my driver drop you off on the way.
No, please. There's no need for that, Mrs. Wright. It's just within the city.
I see. What about you, Zach? We did leave your push bike at the mansion. Don't worry, I'll have someone bring it to your home later.
And I live within the city too. A few blocks from here, in fact. I only visited earlier because...
The photos. Damn, I've completely forgot about them. My hand grazes the side of my pocket while I kept them since this morning. And sure enough, they're still there, waiting for the whole world to see them.
Because? Zach, sweetie, you're zoning out.
Miss Hannah, earlier, at the mansion.
Should I still show her the photos? I don't know. Should I show her the photos, or shouldn't I? Well, I don't know if this will actually ruin a relationship and all that, but... Oh my god, this is pretty hard. Much as the one about the crib. Oh my god. Should I show her the photos or not? Oh my god. I don't know. This is pretty hard for me to decide. Show her the pictures or never mind? I really hate this. Let me check the relationship. Let's see, Hannah's right there, just close to Isabella. If it's lower or probably higher. But it's always best to be truthful.
I think it would be better if you take a look at these yourself.
Let's see if it actually... Crap! That's not good. Seeing is believing, right? I reach into my pocket and pull out the photos, handing everything to her. Recognition flickers across her eyes when she reaches them, and I have to stamp down the tiny twinge of regret in my stomach for having the gall to show it to her. Only it cuts deeper the instant both her and McCullough's expression changes. And it's not a good look. To say she repulses would be a total understatement. All this time, Hannah's has been nothing but direct, saying what she feels, expressing what she wants. Away from the glamour and the camera lenses, she's a whole different person. But as she goes through each of the pictures, I can't get an easy read on her.
Zach, dearie, what is this?
Your photos. The ones you requested copies of. I mean, they came out that way and I thought you should know.
Oh, I get it. You know, I've heard before that artists can be a bit weird.
Fuck.
Have you ever gotten that kind of comment, Marianne?
Not in my line of work, I'm afraid. Or ever, Mrs. Wright. I'd rather keep my personal hobbies away from my actual work. Less stress that way.
I screwed up.
Well, I suppose it just never crossed my mind that the saying applies to you as well, Zach. But talent's what's important, hmm? As long as you make good art, it doesn't matter.
Oh, no, that's... You see, when we had that photo shoot yesterday, there was something.
I wouldn't say I don't appreciate it. I did ask for copies, darling. But would it be possible for you to give me normal-looking ones? Preferably with my head intact. I admire the effort you took to edit this, though. It looks authentic. Frankly, if I show this to some other person, they'd probably believe those silly rumors about the mansion. Good publicity, but not the kind I'd want for my new home. So please.
She drops the back of my hands like they surface burns her.
If you could redo this, that would be wonderful. I'm positive you can do a better job than the one you just showed. Just try to keep the edits to a minimum,
Yeah. I can't, sure.
You can take your time, of course. And speaking of time, I really must go.
She leaves without as much as a wave. I don't have to take a guess on how I dismayed her. In her own words, weirded her out. Besides me, Miss McCullough shakes her head. Those are the odds I have ruined my chances with the job she offered earlier. Very high, I'd say. It's a foolish idea in the first place. Miss McCullough depart... I fucked up. Can't believe I did that. I shouldn't have just leave it like that. Fuck. All I got in this mess, and I take the consequences. Miss McCullough departs shortly after Miss Wright has taken her leave, muttering something about getting a quick lunch before fetching Berthiel from Chris. I don't know what or who Berthiel is. It must be important to her in this kind of hurry. And, well, she doesn't be fond of the small talks, something we can both agree on. Lunch sounds good, or a walk around the city, maybe? But with the sun as high as it now, nah. But after how things with Hannah went, I simply can't muster the appetite for anything at the moment. If I don't do anything with it now, half this depression will rear its ugly head again. And by then, things might be too late to fix. What other choice do I have? Ash? Becca? In all likelihood, all they give me is a pat on the back and a Z-Man, go get some sleep, you're at it again from Ash. I talked to Isabella, but I haven't seen her around since she showed up at my apartment 2 days ago. Weird. There is one person, though.
Damn, I should have thought of that first.
Oh, I guess we're at some kind of chapel or something? Well, I'm definitely gonna leave it over here. Fuck, I can't believe I just lowered the relationship between Zachary and Hannah. Crap, this is not good. I just want the relationship to be well and all, but fuck, I can't believe I fucked that up. I wonder if there's any way to actually fix this in the later episodes, but I don't know. But, damn. I really messed up on that, but I was really confused earlier today about Hannah. Is she really pregnant with Luke's child? But of course, after we learned about a couple of episodes that one woman was saying to Luke that she is fathering his child. Could it actually be true or not? Or something. But why would Luke do that? I don't know. But one way to find out if we were able to head over to Luke's perspective and all that, but still got a long way to go. Still got a long way for Zachary. We still need to tackle with Marianne, Rebecca, Ashton, and then head over to Luke. But whatever is going on with all this... Journal. Alright. Alright, disturbed. Zachary decides to show the photographs to Hannah herself. She was greeted by a wary Luke Bright upon arriving at the mansion. Just in time, Hannah appeared to save Zachary from further interrogation. At her request, Zach accompanied her to Luxburn City. At Luxburn City, Zachary and Hannah met with Marianne McCullough. While Marianne was busy, Hannah disclosed her pregnancy. So, she is pregnant. Oh. In frustrations of Zach, at the end of their talk, Zachary showed her photos, which earned the disapproval of both women. Fuck. Well... This sucks. Fucking relationship is gonna end well between Zachary and Hannah. And I was hoping that could end up well, but fuck. It's fucking screwed up. But